And then you think, someone who's lazy, who's slack in his work, is brother to he who destroys. Like, it's the same, it's just as destructive. It's kind of like aggressive, passive-aggressive. This is passive-destructive. It is like, I'm not going to build. You can destroy what's built, or you can just not build, or let what's built go to decay. You know, you look at all the passages about the sluggard. You know, I walked by the house of the sluggard, and the roof leaked, and the rafters sagged. You know, the hedges weren't kept, and it's just, you know, I think it's funny that we see this highlighted, like in Titus, he addresses it. We see it here in 2 Thessalonians, that, you know, he was careful to show that he was a hard worker in Corinth. And these are all like developed societies. We live in a developed society, and we have, you know, our culture not only has a safety net, we have like a giant welfare system you could lean back on if you didn't want to walk out the door and work, you know. And so, you know, when we're idle, you know, think about work. Like when were we commanded to work as men and women? The command was to Adam and Eve before the fall. And so the curse is that, you know, work is difficult. Like, work is not a curse. Like, that's what we're built to do. We're, you know, just as God is a creator and a doer, like, as image bearers, we work, we reflect. You know, when you look at the freeway in the morning and everybody's heading off to work, like, even though they don't love God, they're reflecting that the industriousness, you know, that God has. And so we just want to recognize, like, being idle, it is sin. It is destructive, you know, just as he who destroys this idle person. So any thoughts on just the idea of laziness? So, you know, and obviously he's dealing with someone who's unwilling to work but wants to eat your food, right? So that's one level, and that's the context of 2 Thessalonians we'll get into next time. But personally, you know, I can think of my own life. Like, I want to be hard on myself. Like, in what areas of my life am I idle? You know, where I could use the time that's not my time, it's time that God's allotted to me as a steward. How can I be better about it? And so, obviously here, when we're talking about someone who's so idle that church discipline's being exercised on him, that's one thing. But we can also even look just internally at ourselves and think, how can I be more productive with the resources God's given me? And we'll go to like the parable of the talents, you know, and that one guy that he had the one talent and he just gave it back to the guy when he returned from his trip. And the response of the king was not good, because he basically said, you know what, I know you're harsh. I know you take what you reap what you didn't sow, and here, have your talent back. And so really being lazy and not working with the resources God gave you is actually insulting God, you know. So we'll talk through that stuff. But good thing is we come here on Sunday to do the one another's, and teaching is just one part of that. So we accomplished that today. Did somebody have a question?
Just another comment that just also thinking about laziness is really self-centered, because if you're not, you know, if you have the ability to work and you're not working, then somebody has to pick up the slack, or you become a burden on others. So your doing is, you know, you're participating in it, and yeah, it comes down to you're being self-centered, selfish.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. What do we have for announcements? The fetching Mrs. Burse.